Welcome back, sinners, to Saturday Night Cinema. I'm your host, as always, Sawyer St. Sin. And you can see we're back with our beautiful friends, King Kong. So, tonight we're going to go into another witchy story. This is more, of a period tale back in the times of, lore. I don't know. I tried to sound Edgar Allan Poe-ish there, but it didn't quite work out for me. Anywho, we're going to talk about Cry of the Banshee. Now, it was released by American International Pictures July 22nd, 1970. Just, 18 years before my birth. But, at least I share the birthday with the anniversary of its release. And so our director is Mr. Gordon Hissler. It's based on a story by Tim Kelly. The screenplay, I'm having a hard time with words tonight, guys, so just bear with me, was done by Tim Kelly and Christopher Wicking. I thought it said Wicked at first, and then I had to take another glance. It's Wicking. And our cast, if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or any of those other social medias, you would have seen the photograph of our top bill, which is the king of horror, Mr. Vincent Price. He plays Lord Edward Whitman in probably one of the most, I didn't like this character, guys. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. I didn't like him. I mean, listen, love Vincent. Love Vincent Price. This character, though, he was a wicked, evil man. But we'll get more into how I feel about just this whole situation in a little bit. Let's keep going with the cast. We have Miss Essie Pearson as Lady Patricia Whitman, the very much younger bride to Mr. Edward. I mean, she looks at least 20 years younger than him. And then we have Hilary Heath as Maureen Whitman. I don't think it's her daughter. I think it's his daughter, and she's just, Patricia is the stepdaughter or the stepmother of all these. Then we have Carl Rigg as Henry Whitman. I think Henry and Maureen are the only two Whitmans that I like. Well, I felt sorry for Patricia, but it's genuinely they're kind of okay. Henry and Maureen. All the other ones Maureen, I don't know. Anyways, all the other ones are terrible. Then we have Stephen Chase as Sean Whitman. He's probably the grossest of them all. I mean, Edward is pretty bad, but Sean is real gross in the ways that he acts. Then we have Marshall Jones as Father Tom. I mean, what better way to fight some witches with a priest then, huh? Then we have Andrew McCulloch as Billy Boy. Sorry, not Billy. Bully Boy. Bully Boy. I don't understand exactly what his role is. I don't know if he's a Whitman or if he's just a goon that goes along with the Whitmans. Not really for sure. Then we have Michael Elflick, I think is how you pronounce that. And he is Burke. And again, I'm not sure if Burke is a Whitman or if he's Bully Boy and is just a crony, a goon of Sean's. They really didn't dive deep into like their characters much, but they are like within the Whitman household a lot. And like anytime we see Sean, like he's, except for like one scene, like they're with him. Then we have Patrick Mower as Roderick, the mysterious stagehand that seems to have a calming effect on animals and Patricia. It's weird. His character's weird. And then we find out that his character gets even more weirder. And last but not least, our main witch, the witch of all witches in this movie, Miss Elizabeth Bragner, plays Una. And, I mean, Una is very strange. She has a very thick accent that's hard to understand sometimes. But I kind of like that in a witch. I mean, I don't need to understand a witch all the time. She can just say things and I'm like, oh, that's mysterious. I don't know what she said. And she could have just said, like, get me a sandwich. And I would have been like, oh, what'd she say? Because it's such a thick accent. So the first thing, well, I mean, technically it's not the first thing that's like interesting about this movie because it happens at the end. But the ending credits, they break up into the establishment. So like all of the like Whitman characters, as well as anybody that kind of falls under like who was in their regime, falls under the establishment. Then it was the witches. And so that's where we found, you know, Una's credit and then like all the credits for all of the extras, and the one witch in the beginning who gets branded. Anytime I see a branding, it hurts. It looks so painful. And then it had the villagers underneath. So I thought it was really cool how they like broke up the classes in the credits. Just found that interesting. Now, the title sequence at the beginning is the coolest animation. And it is done by Terry Gilliam, which, I mean, if you know anything about Monty Python, you know, and some of the other like British animation type styles, like you'll know what I'm talking about. Like it's just very, very cool. And like as soon as I saw it, I immediately like thought like Monty Python. And then when I was actually looking up information about it, like I found out that I was completely spot on. And the textbook definition of what we think of a banshee, like, really doesn't ever come up in this movie. Even though it's called Cry of the Banshee, like, what we think of a banshee never comes up. Like, you know, the kind of monster-ish with the, like, high piercing, like, you know, ear piercing, like head exploding scream, like that doesn't show up really. In this case, the banshee is just like a vessel for like Satan and witchcraft to take hold of and do as they need with their deeds. And also, this was Vincent's last like gothic horror movie. I mean, it did come out, you know, in the summer of 1970, so that kind of does line up with how he kind of maneuvered into a different like genre and everything. I mean, it was later, but this is the last like gothic type setting horror movie that he did. Okay. So let's get into the movie before I tell you like my true like feelings. So it opens up, like, right off the bat, like, it opens up with a witch being branded with a big H for heresy. I'm sorry. That word, like, escaped my brain for a minute. And, like, you know, she's on trial. I use that word very loosely. Because, I mean, as you've seen through a lot of the old time, like, witchcraft stuffs, the trial basically consists of, let's torture them until they give us what we want. So, Vincent Price, Mr. Edward, Lord Whitman, you know, he's proceeding with all this, and he tells her, you know, your penalty is to be, like, run through this, like, through the streets of the village, being whipped until you bleed, and then you're put, like, you know, kind of like in the, you know, gallows area just for everyone to sit there and look at, so that you reflect on your deeds or whatever. So after she's branded, she's hooked to a wagon with horses pulling it, as they, like, rip her top. And I mean, part of her top was already ripped from the branding, but they rip the back of her top, and she's getting pulled, drug almost, pretty much, through the streets of the village with people whipping her and laughing and having fun about this horrible situation that's happening. And then so once they make their way through the town, she is then, like, sat on a bench, and her legs are clamped down, and she's just sitting there, and people are throwing, like, food at her. And then someone comes into town, and he's like, someone's bewitched my dogs, they've, like, killed all the sheep. And then everyone just kind of dissipates. We see that Lord Whitman is having a party, and Sean and Bully Boy and Burke have brought in some children of the witch, and it is a brother and sister, and he does have, like, a little, like, flute situation, and they yell at him to play it, and then they hear this, like, howl, this really strange howl. It's not like a dog howl, and it's not like a werewolf howl, but it's similar, just a little different. Sounds more painful than just like a normal howl. It's very unique. But this, like, makes the boy start, like, he's like, okay, so he starts playing, and she is, like, they, like, hoisted her up onto the table, and, like, you know, basically was like, dance for us. And when she does, after the howl, they start being not so, like, friendly, and then they, like, you know, pull her around, and, like, they're between Sean and Burke and Bully Boy, they, like, start, like, forcing, like, kissing her and just, like, passing her back and forth, and then Lord Whitman gets his turn to give her a big ol' smooch on the lips right there in front of his poor wife. And then when the boy gets, you know, ticked off about this, and it starts to attack Mr. Whitman kills him with a steak knife at the dinner table. And then so, you know, the sister, of course, starts going crazy, and, like, she gets shot in the side by Burke, and they're both laying on, you know, dead, bleeding out. They're on the floor. Patricia comes, hands, murderer. And, you know, Sean's like, bite your tongue, you know, and just she gets carried off to her room. Then Sean proceeds to smack around his good old stepmother and try to rape her. We're not sure if he actually does it, but it seems like he did. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, these Whitman folks, they are not likable characters. In the end, you are like, please do something about these people. So they find out, we're going to just kind of run through this a little bit. They find out where Una and her children are. And they wipe out about half of her children, the witches. And what they do is they just like basically like capture all of them in a really big net and just start hacking away at the bodies inside. It's very, I mean, efficiency? I don't know, guys. It just made me feel real uncomfortable. And also, like, if you knew that there was a head witch and you found the head witch, why would you let her live? Huh? Why? Why would you let her live? Oh, God. Anyways. So, Una is mourning the loss of her children, and she calls on to Satan to bring her an instrument that she can control to do her deeds to take out the Whitmans. And that's what she does. She gets her wish. In Roderick. Now see, Roderick has been, really close with the Whitmans. He calms Patricia down. See, so he was found by Patricia just like alone as a child. And she's kind of like raised him. So, and he calms her down. He has a calming effect on her. So Lord Whitman has just let him stay around. I mean, he's treated him like a secondhand citizen, but he's let him stay around because he calms down his wife. But he becomes the vessel for Una's plan. And he's not like a banshee. He looks more like a werewolf, like very animalistic. But he kills Sean. That's his first kill. And then he kills Patricia. And then he attacks Maureen, but doesn't fully kill her. And like him and Maureen has been having some relations on the side. So there's that thing. But when he's attacking Maureen, they get interrupted by Henry and Harry and the priest, because of course, the priest and Harry go poking around where they're not really needing to be. So they find the witches in their little cult, their little ritual area. And she tells him that, like, they're all gonna die. Like, all of them are gonna die. And it's gonna, like, every last one of them. And, yeah. So, Burke is actually not killed by Una. Burke is killed by Harry. By drowning him in a big vat when he wouldn't stop torturing the witch that had the heresy mark on her. And then, so our next kill is, Roderick gets like tossed in the torture dungeon and he ends up breaking free. And Maureen actually like lets him like out. And then he starts changing and he like goes to choke out the, Lord Whitman. And in all of this like struggle, Maureen shoots him, and they think that they've killed him, so they're gonna go off. They're gonna grab, they're gonna grab Harry and Bully Boy, and they're gonna take off. But first, Lord Whitman wants to see him in the casket. He wants to see Roderick in the casket. Well, he goes and, imagine that. Roderick's not there. He's not there. So Lord Whitman runs back to the carriage and is trying to talk to Henry and Maureen. And that's when he finds them dead. Finds them dead. And then he's like yelling for Bully Boy, and we see like the carriage just like take off, and he's like yelling, and then we see Bully Boy's dead body, and so Roderick is taking off to London with Lord Whitman. He's going to kill him at some point. But that's how it ends. It ends with Lord Whitman and Roderick riding off into the sunset. Not happily, though. Oh, and Una does die. Sorry. Harry kills Una when she's trying to do the ritual stuff. So they think that, like, Roderick's, body has been lifted and is, no longer under her spell, but not so. Not so. Okay, so that was like a quick one through of the synopsis because I really just like want to talk to y'all about my feelings. So, I mean, in this movie, the Christian people, they call it the new religion, is what they call it, versus the old religion. I mean, I feel like they're the villains in this because the witches were just out in the woods to themselves, like not really harming anybody until you stuck your nose into their business. Weren't really, doing anything. And the fact that the like trial for this was like basically like, I'm gonna brand you with this like, hot fucking iron. And then like we're gonna whip you and we're gonna hope that you tell us. And then like not only that, but like then when they wanted to know more about Una, they like hung her up over an open fire pit in the basement. Like, listen. Like, that's not how you get answers out of people. Like, she gave him a riddle. Born of fire, die by fire. That's it. I'm not still sure. So Roderick has like a little medallion that matched a medallion matched a headstone that they found in the graveyard. And it like said the same thing. But I still don't necessarily know what it means. And like it was mentioned that Roderick didn't have a soul. So, I mean, I guess the only way for him to die is by fire, but I don't really understand. I didn't really understand. They didn't get to the bottom of what all that meant. But like my main thing is just that how awful like just this was. It didn't even seem like they were necessarily wanting to find evil. It just seemed like they wanted to torture and fondle, I guess is the best word for it. They just wanted to do horrible things to people to like satisfy some weird kink maybe that they had. Like I don't get it, because the same thing like kind of happened in like a bar with Sean. Like he like ripped up some girl's like shirt and was like kind of trying to force himself upon her to get some answers, and that's the one that gave up like the actual location of Una. But it's like I mean, if you really thought that you had a witch problem, then you would have probably killed the witch when you found her in the first, like the head witch when you found her in the first place. But it all just seemed like some kind of sick game. And I know that if you read like literature, you know, about Salem witch trials and things of that nature, like it was about the same way. Like it wasn't really necessarily about finding the truth. It was just them like having some kind of weird sick urges to just hurt people is what it sounded like. And I mean, it's messed up. It's messed up. Like I mean, I know that like hangings and things of that nature were like basically entertainment for people back in the day. But I still think it's sick and twisted. And, I mean, man, early America justice system and like, I mean, I guess just early people in general justice system, was just terrible. It was, I liked the movie, but it made me upset. It made me root for the witches to kill just everybody in the town. Just, you know what, witches, wipe out everybody. Y'all have fun in the woods, dancing half nude. Just have fun. Because y'all deserve it. Just saying. Y'all deserve it. But, I think that's all for tonight. I won't rant about my feelings on witch trials anymore. I'll save that for some other time. We'll do some more witches and I'll spout some more feelings about how mean they were treated in the past. So, until next time, have a good night. And who knows what I'll do next week. I fly by the seat of my broom. Get it? Get it. I got jokes sometimes, so come back. Have a good night, sinners. Mwah. Bye.